like Cindy Crawford was pretty like slim, you know?
Okay. I gotta go look at her. Yeah, see what.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know, like they Cindy Crawford didn't have a wider hips, to be honest.
I only looked at her eyes, so I didn't see her, you know.
This is not an interview. There is no format. This is simply a conversation about life.
I had discussion recently with the friend of mine because also I was listening to also to one podcast, which was like, yeah, the topic was also there. And it was about this shifting trends in like this like perfect female body
Hmm.
from the like, let's say we started in the 90s and we come to nowadays. This
Hmm.
like, you know, promoted shape, promoted like something which is like very desirable by all the women.
Hmm.
And it changed so much from, I don't know, from me like in the 90s. The really good example of this is like when there was this TV series Baywatch, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and like how these women looked,
Hmm.
and now how they look now. This like this promoted view is like completely something absolutely different.
Yeah.
Um,
Hold on though. When was Kate Moss?
uh, I think she was still like, because like Baywatch was like in the 90s, and I think Kate Moss was also in the 90s.
Because Kate
But
Moss didn't have a Baywatch body.
no, she didn't.
Okay.
She didn't, definitely. But it was okay. That was something. I think the Baywatch was more Cindy Crawford thing,
Okay.
you know, more like that was very similar. I think it was this another trend. I think it was after Kate Moss.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
because then was this thing like more like this like sporty body, something like that. But
Hmm.
what I was in this podcast, I was listening. There was of course the topic of the you know, plastic surgeries, like putting really a lot of money into to reach this goal.
Hmm.
And these two girls, they were talking about that, for example, when you have this woman in Baywatch,
Hmm.
like they have super big breasts, but they have almost no ass. This was their figure. And then back in this time, like of course, like there was like I think the most popular like plastic surgery was to make you bigger breasts.
Hmm.
And then, you know, you had like all these women like spending like tons of money to reach this body, you know, and then like 10 years after,
Hmm.
it's completely switching to something like completely different. That now it's like the breasts are not that important. You need to have a huge ass, and that's,
Hmm.
you know, that I and I was also talking I was also thinking about this in my example, because when I was teenager, so more like when I was like 14, 15, and when my body started changing.
Hmm.
I mean, all the women in my family, they have wide hips.
Hmm.
So, and of course, like all my friends were like everybody was like this,
Hmm.
and I had, of course, a lot of complex because of that. I was not feeling really good, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm so huge, you know, like and I was also super tall. So I was
Hmm.
like, Jesus, it's so difficult,
Yeah.
and I couldn't relate because all my friends were like super small, and there was also this type of body was it back then. It was promoted. It was something
Oh, okay.
um,
I'm
super
missing
nice.
one part though. When were you a teenager? When this was the 90s? You were a teenager in the 90s?
I was teenager in 2005.
Okay, in the 2000s. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So let's say I think it started already changing a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, it was not that strict. There were already like different types of bodies, but still the main one was I would say it was still a bit Kate Moss. It was still a bit like
Mhm.
Baywatch thing.
But
So
these
I
aren't
had
the
this like
same
super,
bodies though. You
huh?
can't say these aren't the same bodies though. Because you said Cindy
This,
Crawford and Kate Moss do not have the same body.
yeah, but they have the thing which they have in common, that they were, of course, like Kate Moss was like super super skinny,
Mm-hmm.
and Cindy Crawford was more like sporty, but in terms of like a lower parts, they were still pretty slim. Like Cindy Crawford was pretty like slim, you know?
Okay. I gotta go look at her. Yeah, see what.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know, like they Cindy Crawford didn't have a wider hips, to be honest.
I only looked at her eyes, so I didn't see her. You know, you know what I mean. I was trying to look into her soul. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it was, I couldn't find, you know, I was always looking as a girl into this like different like magazines and all this, and I couldn't find like myself in this, because my type of figure was then that you are just fat and that's it. Because if you have a bigger ass, you are just fat.
Mm,
So it created like a lot of like, of course, I have a lot of super low self-esteem.
mhm.
I was not really not feeling like very very good.
Hold on. What? Wasn't that Sir Mix-a-Lot song out at the time? Like this Baby Got Back song? When did that
This
come out?
is, but yeah, but that's what I wanted to go to,
Okay,
because it's also,
I'm jumping the gun. Sorry.
yeah, because that's the thing, that it's also cultural, you know. Because for example, I don't know, in like, of course there were like different, you know, different like singers, there were female rappers, there were I don't know, there was Jennifer Lopez, you know what I mean. And this was when I started seeing like, okay, these are the bodies like similar to me.
Mm-hmm,
And even, you know, because I mean, I'm 1 meter 80 tall, and
mm-hmm,
like, you know, the woman like Jennifer Lopez were like 1 meter 65, you know, so they
mm-hmm,
were like pretty short.
mm-hmm,
And I was just like looking into them. I started, you know, like learning about. My mother was always showing me, because she saw that I'm like pretty down,
mm-hmm,
and she was showing me. She said like, look, it's like that in. It also depends on the culture, because there are cultures when this is like the figure which you have, it's very desirable. People find it very attractive. So then I was like, you know, looking for it, and I was always, sometimes I was feeling like, I mean, maybe I was like born in the wrong place, you know, because like really I think in back the time, like I think in Europe,
mm-hmm,
and especially, you know, also in the eastern part, but not only, there was definitely different type of body, you know. Like, of course, people know there's Jennifer Lopez, there is like other artists or celebrities which have a different body, but this is like, okay, they're celebrities, but if you're like a normal girl, it's like, if you look like this, it's nothing, nothing really attractive. So you need to be super slim, you know.
Who
It
said
was
this?
more like this. Huh?
Who said this?
I don't know, like some people.
Who? I want names.
Oh, there was a lot of names.
So you
There was
talking
a lot of
about
names.
like, th- I mean, were you were a teenager, right?
Hmm.
Were who was this body for? For you, or for were you trying to attract whoever you're
um
interested in?
mhm.
You are you
I
in?
mean,
Huh?
when you are 15 years old, of
Mm-hmm,
course you want to be accepted, you know, and you want, first of all, you want to look like your friends. You don't have this sense, I mean, I didn't have this sense of like, that I want to be individual, that I want to be different. It came later.
mm-hmm,
But in the beginning, you just want to look like your friends, and all your friends look different than you. They're
mm-hmm,
much smaller than you.
mm-hmm,
And also, like, of course, if you are at this age, you are looking for acceptance, like in eyes of other people, and also, you know, like boys and stuff like that. And for me, it was, yeah, it was especially when I changed the schools, and I went to, I don't know what's the name, was the equivalent in English for the school, but it was something like before high school, three
middle
years,
school or junior high?
something.
Junior high. Junior high. Sorry.
Yeah, something like this. So, you know, there was yeah, I was bullied as well, like because of my shape and everything. And yeah, it was pretty painful.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you are like 15 years old, then you, first of all, you don't have any like examples in the media to support how you look. Then second of all, you have, you know, like just other like people just like shitting on you like every day. And then you don't, and you want to also to look at like your friends, and you don't. So it's yeah, like for a 15-year-old person,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I think it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, like I started getting into, started learning about, you know, like different stuff, how the female's body is perceived in cultures different than mine. And then exactly, of course, I know these tracks which you are saying. And there was the time. um, but for me, like, interesting is that when I look at this now,
Mm-hmm.
and when I see women making injections to their asses to look to have them bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I remember my all like the teenage time, like there was like so much like pain and like everything, there was so much struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, and now everybody wants to have it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, for me, it's crazy how it can shift.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, because like when we think about it, it was okay. 15 years, okay, it's a lot, but it's not that much, you know. It's just like, okay, here you are 20, here you are 30, here you are 30, here you are 40. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
and the same is like today, that this image is right now, it's like crazy, like how people are really like craving to have like these huge asses.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are making these plastic surgeries. And then again, in 10 years, exactly, that was the good question which you said, like, but who said it, you know, who said that this is attractive, who said that that is attractive? And again, we can ask ourselves, who is going to say in 10 years that, oh, you know, that no, that's really not cool, like we like, I don't know, something else, you
No,
know. I don't
I
know what
can
they can invent,
no.
but
Listen. Come on. Let me give you some. Let's talk for a second. Big asses and big breasts are never going out of style. Never. There's never going to be like, you know, oh, I wish I could find a flat chested girl to like. No, no, nah, nah. It's not gonna. I think what I think happens is, first of all, I'm not trying to like downplay your experience or anything like that, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I think we often, you know, I have a very similar experience, right? Because it used to be not in fashion to be dark skinned, right? And I
Yeah.
used to get teased about being dark skinned, and yeah, I guess the bully, the little, I didn't, you know, I really only had one bully in my life, but yeah, people would make jokes about it and all that different kind of stuff and everything,
Mhm.
and I definitely had a complex as well that really lasted probably, well, the effects of it lasted well into my 30s, I would say.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But things started to change in the 80s, like in the later 80s, when this rapper Big Daddy Kane, I don't know if you ever heard of him, Big Daddy Kane. You might be a little,
No, I don't.
little,
I don't think so. I mean,
little
like in '80s, I was not born.
yeah, that's right. So you okay? So you don't know Madonna and all of this stuff. Like you don't remember the like when it was like Madonna. You just
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, Big Daddy Kane was appeared in this. Madonna had this book of photography. It was called Sex,
Yeah.
and Big Daddy Kane is in that book. in
Mm-hmm.
like a series with I think it's like Madonna, Naomi Campbell, and Big Daddy Kane. Like,
Okay.
and he ended up becoming this like sex symbol or whatever, and then all of a sudden between him and Michael Jordan, like dark skin just became the thing, at least for men, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the damage had already been done.
Yeah.
I thought I was like unattractive for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And so I do understand what you're saying, but I also want to say that like when I look back on it, let's say Big Daddy Kane came out in like the mid 80s, so I would have been around the same age as you
Mm-hmm.
when times were changing.
Yeah.
And so time I think we looked for like we kind of were reinforcing this ourselves because I mean I think that if I look back at it, I'm sure I could find someone from the 80s that was hot that had a big ass or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. That's for sure.
we might have seen these people, but because we thought that this is what everybody else was looking at, we didn't even see that we were being appreciated at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, but that's what I said is also about it also matters, like where are you born, and in which like which pictures you have, because I mean, I'm sure that there were like examples, and I will be able to find yeah, somebody to look at and just to have this thing like, oh, there's like, like famous people like who look like me or something like that. But it's just like I think that's the big difference between US and Poland. It's just like a different it's the big cultural difference, I think. And yeah, now it's completely different, but I think it matters. I think it matters that we knew, of course, that there are other people, but it's just like you still have this like image, like a one type of body which is attractive, so yeah.
oh, I don't know. So you think it's still going on today?
No, 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 I don't think so. I think it changed.
Because I would say